SaveWithConrad.com.
Yeah, I'm Justin Ruffin from Knoxville, Tennessee. What got me to Save with Conrad was the 83 Weeks podcast. I really wasn't thinking about getting rid of any debt. I just wanted to cash out some equity in the house to do remodeling. But I did both, so that was pretty awesome. Worked out great. Redid the foyer, built pantry space, and there's little odds and ends when I first bought the house that I wanted to take care of, and we were able to take care of it. So, yeah, paid off 2 cars and some credit card debt. So probably all in all, get $30,000 in that. And then I got some $30,000 more equity out of the house, and still plenty of equity left over. So payment's good. I lowered my interest rate. I'm in a much better spot than I was. Super easy. Everybody was great. Very, very awesome people. Francis and Steve were great to work with. They were awesome. Made it for a very easy, seamless experience. I'd probably say all in all, probably $1,000 a month at least. I'm lowered my interest rate, especially the way the interest rates are right now, which is, that's amazing. I'm Justin Bruckman from Knoxville, Tennessee. I saved over $1,000 with SaveWithConrad.com, and I did a lot of renovations with that money as well.
NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender. SaveWithConrad.com. Hey, it's Conrad the Mortgage Guy, and you're listening to My World. And of course, we couldn't do it without the Hall of Famer himself, the greatest professional wrestler of all time, your friend and mine, Double J, Jeff Jarrett. Jeff, how are you, man?
Oh, Conrad Thompson, we got to get you back in the studio, get your DJ vibes going on. But happy My World Recording Day. Man, oh, man. Entering into this 40th year, Conrad, there sure are lots of things going on. We chatted up Ring Classics last week and got some things coming on. I've won FW, our pals down in Georgia. Got a show coming up here into this month, and we're looking at into March, and I got a couple of signings. And oh boy, the summer looks already very, very busy. Baseball news, gaming news. We won't chat about that today, but even Q3 and Q4 looks very exciting. So I'm excited. I'll get aside. 40th year of old Double J. We got some things going on, but wow, we got Super Bowl to talk about. We got Australia Grand Slam coming up. I don't know what else you got on your plate today. Let's just don't talk politics, religion, or wrestling, and let's just have a good old time. So how you doing, Connie?
Man, I'm good. I'm excited to be with you because we've got a lot to talk about today. We are going to be talking about AEW Grand Slam, which is going down this weekend. I can't believe it, but AEW is going to Australia, and you don't want to miss any of that this Saturday night. Of course, they've got a really rare house show this Sunday night. Tickets available now if you're down under at AEWTIX.com. We are going to be hitting on WrestleMania. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Cody, I guess, has a house show idea. We'll talk about what maybe was supposed to happen at the Royal Rumble, and maybe it was an unanswered prayer with Bronn Breakker. We'll talk about that. We'll touch on Big E. Of course, we're going to hit on AJ Styles and a whole lot more. We also have a trailer for a new documentary about Double J that we're going to be debuting for the very first time at the end of today's episode. So stay tuned for that. We got to preview this documentary a couple of weeks ago in Atlanta. It was fabulous. I can't wait for you to see it. It's actually going to air in Nashville, Tennessee on television, and it's also going to live here online, and I can't wait for all of you guys to see it. We will debut the trailer at the end of the show. We've also got some information on a really cool collectible that'll be coming your way. So it's a slam-packed My World today, doubling down on Double J. But you mentioned it at the top of the show, Jeff. Last weekend, we spent some time in Atlanta for what we like to call Eric Bischoff's Power Plant Weekend. And our next one is already on the books, and you're in mind. So let's take a look and talk about what happened in Atlanta last weekend.
What a weekend it was in Atlanta, Georgia, as Ring Classics brought fans together for Eric Bischoff's Power Plant Weekend. The experience kicked off with 3 legends of the business, breaking down some of their favorite iconic wrestling promos. From there, the spotlight shifted to the fans, as David Crockett and Tony Schiavone took the stage to see what the audience had learned, giving them the chance to step up and cut promos of their own.
The king of the mountain sits on top. I always have been and always will be. Now choke on that, slap ass.
Hey, you hold on 1 second here. I'm here for not only the fans of that 3, but the fans of you. You might be the king of the mountain in this ring, but pal, you got a long way to go when it comes to podcasting.
Following that, the attendees were treated to an exclusive first look at the Jeff Jarrett story, Heart of a Promoter documentary that left fans wanting more. Laughter filled the room throughout the weekend as JBL debuted his brand new show, Curtain Jerkers, recording multiple episodes live in front of an energized audience.
JBL is definitely Spiro to me, damn it.
Oh, and there were surprises. An unannounced appearance by primetime Elix Skipper had the crowd buzzing as he joined Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker to run power plant drills, giving fans a first-hand taste of what it takes to become a professional wrestler. And you can't be a wrestler without a good entrance, as participants were judged on their entertaining abilities during entrance roulette. But the main event of the entire weekend was something truly special. Fans boarded a bus with Eric Bischoff himself for an unforgettable tour of Atlanta, beginning with the legendary home of the WCW power plant. From there, the journey continued to AFX Studios, where historic memorabilia from the mind of Andre Freitas brought wrestling history to life. The tour concluded with none other than Ernest the Cat Miller, who capped it off with live demonstrations at his karate school. The weekend came to a thrilling close with live professional wrestling action, hosted by One Fall Wrestling, who graciously served as home base for this incredible event. It was an unforgettable gathering of legends, stories, and fans, and this is only the beginning. Next, Ring Classics Backstage Pass holders head to the home of Double J and the heart of TNA. Become a Backstage Pass holder today and secure your spot for Jeff Jarrett's Asylum weekend this May.
How about that, man? How fun was that in Atlanta?
I mean, I was sitting there. Andre, Elix Skipper, Ernest the Cat. Man, hate to say this, Conrad, it's going to be a hard thing to top. But hey, real quick, and I would do a horrible attempt at it, but I got to ask this already a couple of times because people see my posts and my retweets. I don't know if you still call it a retweet, but anyway, Ring Classics. Give the My World listeners, those that don't know, what's the difference between ad-free? I know all the answers, but I would rather you get it out because just clear up anything, and then we'll get back into the discussion of the Atlanta weekend.
Adfreeshows.com is now ringclassics.com. So everything you've always enjoyed over at adfreeshows.com, now you can do in our very own app. It's available now in the App Store on Apple and, of course, the Google Play Store. And if you have an Android, you can pick it up there as well. But now, you know, after all these years we've been on Patreon, really adfreeshows.com just forwarded to a Patreon. We listen to our members. They were frustrated with the clunky user interface of Patreon, and they wish it was easier to find stuff and separate different pods into different feeds. We made all of that happen with our very own app. It's called Ring Classics. Now, if you're interested in getting more bonus content or accessing our archives or hearing our shows early and ad-free, I want to encourage you to sign up at ringclassics.com, not the app. If you sign up through the app, well, Apple's going to jack the price up and take a cut. You will save yourself some money and get it a whole heck of a lot cheaper if you sign up at ringclassics.com. In the old way, we had 4 different tiers. Bonus content was either $29 or $49 a month. Now all the bonus content is included for just $13 a month. So not only do you get all of my shows early and ad-free, basically everything we've ever done, you get all of our archives as well, including all of the new bonus content we'll be creating for just $13.99 a month at ringclassics.com. But at least 3 times a year, perhaps 4 times a year, we're going to have a dream, almost fantasy camp type weekend like you just saw that we did in Atlanta. And that is with our bigger tier. That's the Backstage Pass at ringclassics.com, where you get to live out some cool moments. I don't know if you saw there, Jeff, but we had Tony Schiavone and David Crockett in their old JCP Blazers on the recreated JCP set that we used from Ric Flair's last match. And we actually filmed the promos as if it was live on TBS, where some of our supporters and family members from adfreeshows.com, they get to be the first to sort of guinea pig this. And we filmed it for them. And you were a good sport. You and I together sometimes, because we're such friends in real life, we're dangerous. So when I saw Coach Rosie was calling you out randomly for no reason, I mean, here you are trying to coach him up and you're catching strays off camera. Like, wait, what the hell? And I get over and I get in your ear and I say, hey, go pick up that U.S. title and just use your microphone and interrupt him and cut a promo.
That's fun.
And I thought it was super fun. But I know in our highlight reel there, it did look like Coach Rosie was giving you the business. So I thought, you know what? Let's just show people what the full experience was like when Double J took over the set at Eric Bischoff's Power Plant weekend last weekend. Let's take a look.
Oh, no.
We are back here on TBS. A lot of excitement heading to the Omni. This is a match, and this is a feud, David, that's gone along for a long, long time between Double J, Jeff Jarrett, and Coach Rosie. This time, it's for Jarrett's Top Guy title. Coach Rosie has more than enough reason to want to get Jeff Jarrett in the ring. If you recall, Jeff hit him over the head with that guitar last time, proving that Coach Rosie, like people said, doesn't have a hard head. But let's bring in Coach Rosie right now. Coach, I know you're fired up.
Come on in here.
David, go ahead and talk to him.
Tell us about, all right, this feud that's going on. How long has it been going on?
Mr. Crockett, it's been going on for about a year now. Double J thinks he's on his high horse running this podcast named My World. He's missing episodes for his terrible Wi-Fi, for the ice freezing. He thinks he can come in here and just appease the fans. Well, I'm a man that is for the fans, and Double J, your time is up.
Wow. Now, what's it about his missing episodes?
Yeah, over the past couple months, his Wi-Fi goes out. Not only once, but twice in the episodes. It's not a really good look for the show. And then he thinks his community's freezing. He can miss a live taping. No good. I'm here to restore the order and the honor of the great My World podcast.
Listen up, slap nuts.
Wait. Are you cheating him? It sounds like you're cheating.
Crockett, you sit there and shut the hell up like you've done your entire career. And Shivani, don't even think about butting in. You've been stealing money from this industry for 40 freaking years. Zip it. Let me tell you something, you wannabe coach. You walk around, you pester everybody, you throw out your little silly ass tweets. Oh, I'm going to support Double J. I'm going to do this. You're a nothing but a phony, just like the basketball team you coach. Just exactly like all these freaking phony ad-free folks. At the end of the day, it's my world. I run the show. Don't talk about no damn Wi-Fi. If you knew your ass from the hole in the ground, you would know it's freaking Coleman, Alabama's finest, Conrad Thompson. Him and his dumbass podcast setup. The king of the mountain sits on top. I always have been and always will be. Now choke on that, slap ass.
Hey, you hold on 1 second here. I'm here for not only the fans of Ad-Free, but the fans of you. You might be the king of the mountain in this ring, but pal, you got a long way to go when it comes to podcasting. I'm out.
Oh, yeah! All right, Tony.
How about that, David?
We've got one.
I think we've got one. Hope he beats the hell out of Jeff,
yes,
like most people have throughout their careers.
I mean, how fun was that? Come on.
The Phoenix camp years ago when we first started, we've had a couple of conversations. I remember we were breaking bread. I think Cassio, me, you, and Cassio. But you got into kind of the vision of what a fantasy camp weekend looks like. And man, oh man, folks, if you're a My World listener and have any of those kind of thoughts, I watched that video and I wasn't around to see Elix run the power plant and Sarge and man, Andre in the studio and Ernest the Cat. Damn, Conrad, what a weekend you guys put together. So I kicked it off in that promo class, and then you goaded me into slap ass. Anyway, Coach Rosie, damn him. Anyway, bud, it's what a very, very cool concept. Happy to be a part of it. All kidding aside, happy to be a part of it.
We're going to do 2 or 3 more this year. We're going to do 3 or 4 every year, and it's coming your way. You saw that Atlanta was themed up for JCP and mostly WCW with some of the folks we had attending. We're going to do that exact same thing and celebrate Tennessee and, of course, TNA and the history that Jeff has in the mid-Tennessee area. We're going to be doing it the last weekend of May. We hope you'll make your plans to join us. Go sign up now at ringclassics.com. But I knew showing you cutting a promo on Coach Rosie was at least going to bring a smile to your face today.
Yeah, and I've been trying to think about that weekend. We got, it's funny, it's kind of dropped in 40 years of Jarrett, and Last Outlaw stuff, and we got to figure out some USWA kind of vintage stuff. And I know obviously Asylum and was a huge part of my career, and Nashville being the home base, and Pigfest last year, and that's what this doc that we'll show at the end of the episode. So a lot of things coming together, Conrad. Very cool.
Something that's not coming together nearly as well as maybe we hoped is WrestleMania. I don't know if you saw this, but there's a report that Dave Meltzer put out where he says that WWE may be panicking a little bit. I guess ticket sales are down about 18%. I admit I thought it was risky, and we announced here on the show that I thought it would be a tall task to beat last year's record with this year, but I know that there's going to be a lot of pressure. I mean, I think historically wrestling promotions were viewed differently, and they understand. Like, for instance, AEW, I think they knew, hey, the second year at Wembley is probably not going to beat the first year at Wembley, but that's a harder sell when you're publicly traded, because now you have to report numbers that say, hey, you know, we didn't do as well as we did last year. And now people are wondering, hey, Jeff, why are the ticket sales down in Vegas? Do you think WWE's not as hot? Is it just the cost of tourism to Las Vegas? Because overall tourism to Vegas is down. And of course, a lot of that is based on the economy, but it's kind of hard to put your finger on what it could be. But I wanted to ask, as a best practice, as a rule from your many years experience promoting wrestling, and of course, as a third generation promoter yourself, does going back to the same town for the same big event back to back, does it add a new layer of pressure? I know that, you know, your dad and Jerry Lawler seemingly managed to sell out the Mid-South Coliseum on an almost weekly basis, but that was then, and this is now. You weren't necessarily serving the local audience. There's a lot of fly-in. So do you think that there is a sense of sameness from people who think, well, I went to Vegas last year, I don't know if I want to go again this year? What would you hang your hat on, Jeff?
Conrad, and I didn't see this report. That's it. That's interesting. You know, what I am, Conrad, let me think how to dive off into this, because this is a topic that I believe it goes much, much, much broader than just WrestleMania. But obviously, you know, WrestleMania being the flagship of WWE's entire programming. And I'm sure those minds that sit around the finance table and the creative table and the marketing table, and I'll say all the rights fees. The one thing that is the unknown is the buying audience. Do they buy later? I'm going to get to answer your question, but all the factors that go into this, that, okay, tickets are down, but what is the ATP? What's the average ticket price year over year? Have we gone up, Conrad? I'm not saying you should know this, but I'm saying so many factors get into this. Okay, we're coming back to the town the same year. For Vegas to get them back, and the New Orleans situation, and started and stopped and then headed to Vegas. So did Vegas, knowing that their overall tourism's down Easter weekend, did they add a couple of zeros to the site fee in that? Okay, so the site fee, again, I'm talking around and around and around, because I just think this day and age, you know, you referenced the old school and weekly sellouts, and, you know, the weekly episodic programming, and at the Louisville Gardens or Mid-South Coliseum, or even monthly Madison Square Garden every month. You know, now we're talking about the biggest event, back-to-back, 2-night show, coming back into the same market. They obviously had all kinds of reasons to do it. And, you know, the armchair quarterbacks are going to dive into creative and say, oh, now, wait a minute. You know, they don't have Cena this year. They don't have this. They don't have that. There's so many things you could point to. But I think at the very, very top of it, you nailed it. We are stating the obvious, but I do believe a wrestling, and I don't even want to say die hard, but a wrestling fan that may either go with buddies, with families, with uncles, whatever the traveling party may be, to go back to the same location, back-to-back years. There is a very simple psychological kind of play into this. Oh, you know what? We won't go back this year. I think that is the lowest of the lowest hanging fruit. You know, the Super Bowl, coming off the Super Bowl. And I know there was, I mean, even Colin Cowherd, I'm a Cowherd listener when I'm working in my office or in the radio or from time to time. And he wasn't the only one, different sportcasters, where they said, my God, this, this Bay Area weather is so iffy. Is it going to be cold? Is it going to be this? Going to be that? Why don't they just put the Super Bowl in one location? Why travel it? Let's just have it in Miami every year or wherever it may be. Well, obviously the league goes into all that, but also think that it creates character in the in the event. And so them going back-to-back years, they had all the financial reasons, but and I think that's what drives the ship. We've said it, and I feel like I've almost run it in the ground, that it is a new day in TKO. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They answer only to Wall Street. And look, I get that. They've got to answer to the investors and stockholders and the stock and everything that goes with that. But is it going to be a financial success that they put in their books? Like, are they going to beat projections? So did Meltzer say, and I'll throw it back at you, Conrad, and try not to be long-winded. Like, so he's saying 18 to 20% down. Is that from this time last year in sales? I assume it would be, like, because people were buying patterns are always changing. So good topic, good thought process, but man, there's a lot of factors that go into it. Wouldn't you say that?
I totally agree. A lot of moving parts, a lot of factors. And I think the biggest one that you and I haven't talked about is dynamic pricing. Never before in the history of wrestling shows have the prices of tickets changed, based on where you are and when you're looking. But that is the new way of the world. And I know that there have been a lot of people who found some really fantastic deals based on where they were buying from and when they bought their tickets. So TKO is obviously, a for-profit business trying to maximize their profit. And I do think from a bottom line perspective, based on the rights fee they're going to get and to return, it does feel like they're going to be able to put some sort of positive spin and have really, really positive news coming out of it. But where the rubber meets the road is, will they sell all of the tickets? And I think with dynamic pricing, the answer is yes. They'll still get there. It may just be the day of, the day before, because I just assume as we get closer and closer, and there will be little pockets along the way where tickets get more affordable or more expensive. That's the way it's at least been explained to me. But there are some things that are different this year in Las Vegas from last year. Fightful actually reported, quote, a number of locations in Las Vegas have been told they may be unable to broadcast WrestleMania this year, even if they pay a licensing fee. Those locations communicated frustration as they believe the city paid a site fee to encourage tourism. Fightful is obviously on top of this report, but I think that's fascinating to me because, Jeff, once upon a time when, respectfully, the Tennessee Oilers were not very good, they would be blocked out of Huntsville television. Like before they were the Titans, we couldn't see because they were not a great team. Tickets were not selling well, and I couldn't get them here in North Alabama. And there were times where when I lived in South Alabama, Falcons games were blacked out. And once upon a time, Alabama games would be blacked out. So I'm familiar with blackouts, but that feels like it's almost from a bygone era. And it does show you that if these restaurants are willing to pay a licensing fee, you would think to yourself, well, that's leaving money on the table. I think you only institute these blackout situations and circumstances if you think you might be in trouble selling those tickets, Jeff. It's the only thing that makes sense to me.
And I'm just making sure, because I think I didn't even think that would enter into their mindset. You're saying locally in Las Vegas, they're not going to allow you to stream it.
That big pool that's on a rooftop in like downtown old Vegas, what we would call, on Fremont Street.
Yeah.
I think it's Circa, but they've got that large sports book with the outdoor pool and the giant screen. Yeah. People were watching WrestleMania on that last year. My understanding is right now WWE says, no, you can't do that this year. So you won't be able to have these WrestleMania parties all around town.
Yeah.
And now does that mean you could still log on to, your app and watch it from your phone or your tablet, wherever you are? Of course, but they don't want to encourage you to go somewhere else and watch with fans.
I got it.
in Las Vegas. Now, that doesn't mean that you couldn't do that at a movie theater somewhere or one of those Cosm deals in Dallas or Atlanta, but in Vegas, that feels like a big deal, especially if the city of Vegas is saying, "Hey, we're gonna pay you this big fee on behalf of the city to bring in all of this." Because you've seen the reports; these economic studies are done about what the economic impact of, say, AEW coming to Dallas was, and then there's a report about, "Hey, here's how many beds and heads we had, and here's or heads and beds we had, and here's how much was spent at hotels, and here's how much was spent at restaurants, and here's how much was spent in bars," and you can just see a boom and an impact to the local economy when all of those people come in town. But now it feels like WWE saying, "Hey, thanks for that, but you got to buy a ticket if you want to do this. We're going to make sure you're here for us and not just going to participate in shoulder events." It feels like they're forcing their hand, and I don't think they're doing anything wrong or illegal there.
Oh,
But they didn't do it last year, so
strategy.
people are taking note of that.
Yeah, that's strategy. And look, what are we, 2 months out? Yeah, about 2 months out, Conrad. Is that right?
Yeah.
Just a little under or a little, a little over. Anyway, yeah, and there's time to flip that switch, but that is encouraging ticket buys. And they didn't do it last year is the biggest thing. That's very interesting. Things can change, so we won't get too far out of our skis and 6 weeks from now, oh, Jeff and Conrad, we're talking about this. But as it sits today, that's a very interesting news bit, so to speak.
I do think they'll sell it out. I just think they're saying, "Hey, it may be more of a challenge." And I don't know if you've seen, but Meltzer's even reporting, quote, "There's been a lot of internal criticism on Paul Levesque as far as keeping changing the WrestleMania plans like Vince. But they have a plan, then they change the plan, and then everything is up in the air because of the feeling that advance attendance is down." So that's interesting because, we're hearing multiple reports that plans change, pal. And I don't know that this is necessarily fair. I think there's a lot of people who have been talking about online that there maybe is a Triple H fatigue and that he's put himself on the cover of the video games and opening all the pay-per-views, and Unreal feels like a vehicle for Levesque. And we see all of that online, that criticism. Whether it's fair or not is a separate conversation. I'm just saying the sentiment exists. And now to hear behind the scenes, there's frustrations and people are comparing him to Vince. Because for years and years now, fans were saying, "Oh God, can you imagine how much worse it would be if we had Vince? Oh, this is so much better without Vince. Oh, keep Vince away from here. Thank you, Triple H." It feels like some of that has eroded with fans, but now maybe even with the boys. If this report is accurate, the idea that folks are upset with plans changing for WrestleMania, that was common with Vince, but maybe they're suggesting it wasn't so common in the more recent years with Triple H. What do you make of those reports, Jeff?
That is, it goes without saying. We've covered it in a multiple different avenues, but ultimately, so many thoughts come to mind. The old adage that Dutch would say, when things are going well on a show, talent gets all the credit. When things are going bad, creative gets all the blame. It is such a difficult spot to be in because you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And we touched on it without even touching on it. All the factors that go into situations today that, in the age of instant gratification, no patience, armchair quarterbacks, you're dealing with a different set of circumstances. You don't also, I think you're going to touch on that Cody thing about house shows. You no longer have, I'll call it a focus group, which would be a house show crowd. There's a lot of factors that just kind of go into how the business has evolved. It's just completely changed. And if you do not have, like Vince had, not only complete control, but he had more to gain or more to lose than anybody. So I think by default, when you're in that position that you have more to gain or more to lose, the ball is in your hands. There is a sense of confidence that, well, he got us here, and so it's his responsibility. And if he doesn't do things the way that he wants to do them, well, then he's going against really his like the goal alignment and why you incentivized to do this and all that kind of stuff, where you just said it, the online sentiment, there's 1,000 different things going on, video game and opening, closing, and this and that, and da 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 da. It's like the arrows are coming. That is a real tough spot to be in. And one thing's for sure in this business, change is inevitable, because it doesn't get easier. It's going to get more errors are coming. They're not going to magically quit firing them. It just doesn't happen. That is the nature of the beast. And, when you look at go back in time and knowing history, Conrad, you had, we'll call it the Crockett's, Jarrett, Von, all the territory owners. The owners didn't change. The bookers did. And so my dad's setup was he was the owner and booker half the time, and he just kept rotating. And so when you kind of look at it, bookers, it is when you sign the dotted line to start doing the job, it's a finite time. The day is coming when you're going to be moved out. It's just a given.
Well, I don't think that, from where I sit, I can't imagine that Triple H is in any danger of losing his gig.
No,
I mean, there's so many decisions. I'm not saying you are, but I'm saying there are a lot of fans, and I think some of this is driven by, and I love Coach, and I know he's got his critics online, but I think some of it is driven from Coach and Russo's podcast, where they're both at times advocating, saying that they don't think that, Triple H is doing the best job or whatever. But I think a lot of these decisions about, whether or not they go back to Vegas and what tickets cost, I don't know what's going on, but that ain't up to him.
No.
And a lot of the creative can change too. I do want to talk to you about that. We're going to talk about Cody's idea about house shows, but I really want to talk about Bronn Breakker. But before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about something I'm kind of excited about on my side. A lot of us, if we're in business, we think, hey, it's a new year. I need some new systems, right? This is the time of year where some of us take a look at the messier parts of our business and say to ourselves, there's got to be a better way. And there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest and easiest upgrades you can make. And that's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo. That's spelled Quo. It really is a smarter way to run your business communications. I have to admit, I actually found this product when I was researching for our mortgage company, and I love it. You see, Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2 with over 3,000 reviews. This is built for how modern teams work, and I want you to see that there's more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams, who all rely on Quo to stay connected, professional, and consistently reachable. Let me explain. Quo works wherever you are, right from an app on your phone or your computer, and it lets you keep your existing number. You can add new numbers or teammates in minutes. You can even sync up with your CRM and rely on seamless routing and call flows as your business scales. Your entire team can handle calls and texts from one shared number. There's no more missed messages or disconnected conversations. Everyone sees the full thread, making replies faster, and customers feel genuinely cared for. To be clear, Quo isn't just a phone system, it's a smart system. You see, Quo's AI automatically logs the calls, generates summaries, highlights next steps. Buddy, nothing gets lost. It can even qualify leads or respond after hours, ensuring your business stays responsive even when you're finally offline. Quo is easy. Calls, texts, voicemails, transcripts, even contact details are all live, and they live in one clean view. With full context at your fingertips, your team will be able to communicate faster. They'll all be able to stay aligned together, and they'll deliver a more personal and professional experience. Make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. I want you to try Quo for free. Plus, get 20% off for your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/myworld. That's QUO.com/myworld. Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers. What a great product. QUO.com/myworld. Legitimately, folks, I'm using it. I love it. You're going to love it too. Hey, I do want to talk to you a little bit about, this whole Bronn Breakker story. I don't know if you saw this, but allegedly there was a pitch and a presentation that Bron Breakker was supposed to win the Royal Rumble, which makes sense. He's been on a fast track. I think a lot of people said a few years ago, hey, that guy's going to main event WrestleMania. So it looked like he was going to fulfill his destiny. Maybe there were some other changes with other matches that people had in mind. And, well, plans change, pal. Roman Reigns wound up winning the Royal Rumble for the second time, not Bron Breakker. And it almost felt like a Garth Brooks song, because this past Monday, we saw Bron Breakker flip over the announce table. And I'll admit, I didn't think anything of it. But it turns out he had to have a major surgery for a hernia as a result of flipping that table over.
No way.
And now he's on the shelf, and we don't know when he'll be back, but it is not looking good. And listen, it ain't ballet, folks. You can get hurt at any time. And I know a lot of the critics of pro wrestling like to say, oh, well, it's this or it's that. The injuries are very real, ladies and gentlemen. But imagine if they had actually gone forward and strapped the rocket to Bron Breakker, and he was supposed to be in one of the main events of WrestleMania. And now he was unable to compete because of this major hernia surgery. So on the one hand, I feel like, hey, maybe if the talent do feel like, hey, plans are changing too much, it's like Vince, the WrestleMania plans keep changing. We don't like this. I hear that criticism. But on the other hand, if one of those changes was taking a guy out of that spot, and then the next week he wounds up getting hurt, I mean, literally 2 days later, he's hurt. I'm not saying that Triple H would have known that was going to happen or suggesting that Bron Breakker was injury prone, but boy, that feels like the right call with the benefit of hindsight, doesn't it, Jeff?
Without the injury, I did not see. I'm totally out of the loop on this, Conrad. Man, thoughts and prayers with Bron. I've known little Bronson. That's what we used to call him since before he was born. That kid was a daredevil at like 5 years of age. He's the baby brother of 3 and would ride down Scotty's long driveway in Ackworth, Georgia, in little bitty bicycle. He'd be going 100 miles an hour. But like, it's almost like his spear. I think about that when he does his spear, but I didn't know any of this, Conrad, but my initial gut thought was, hey man, he is really come along. His promos are getting so much better, but for my money's worth, he ain't ready. He not, I mean, I do not think it would have done him. I think it would have done him and creative a disservice had he won Royal Rumble. So hate that he's hurt, but I think it's best for his career that he didn't win the Rumble.
I got a feedback, or not feedback, but as we were recording this morning, I saw a post from Ryback on social media about Bron Breakker's injury. And he says, back in WWE, I wrestled 7 months injured wearing compression shorts under my singlets. A strained groin turned into a bilateral core muscle tears, ripping both lower abs. Expected recovery was up to 20 weeks. I was back full-time in 10. Whatever Bron Breakker's timeline is, I guarantee he beats it. Hungry mentality, and that's the last bite. Feed me more. I mean, this is something that I just feel like, and I hate to make this comparison, but 25 years ago this month, somehow, some way, we lost Dale Earnhardt, and the crash was not a spectacular NASCAR crash that looked like it was devastating. It just, I think all of us who saw the race, and I'll admit I wasn't watching racing back then, but even when I saw the replay, I thought, well, what's the big deal? Injuries can happen on anything. And I don't think anybody would have said when they found out that Bron Breakker had this hernia surgery, oh, it's from flipping the announce desk. Like no one would have guessed that, right?
I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back. The straw was very weak. Look, Bron's the only one that, and he might not have had extreme discomfort, but man, oh man, you can tell by his attitude, his work. I mean, he is a very unique athlete. Have we seen anybody his size run that fast, that often? Man, he hits the ropes 100 miles an hour. I mean, turning that table over, obviously he was, you can say, oh, was he stretched? Was he this? Was he that? Or was he warmed up? Or how did it happen? Or did he get kicked into the gut? I mean, all the little things on that. I go back to those groin injuries. Owen, in I'll call it the last year of his life, off and on, he used to do that spin kick jump up and spin and kick. And one night, somebody came off the ropes just a little bit faster, and he hit him a little bit harder. And it was just that, like he had done it every night of his career, or almost every night of his. I mean, he just did that spin kick over and over and over. And this night, the guy came off kind of fast. Maybe Owen jumped a little late. I don't know, but whatever the circumstances, but he messed his groin up, and but he didn't take time off. It is a slow healing thing. I just hope Bronn really doubles down and gets that thing healed, because that can cause a lifetime of issues, man. Because it is damn, that sucks, man. That really sucks. I didn't know any of that, but I just hope. And look, it's a different era with medicine, with rehab, with just everything they do. Just recently, my daughter's ankle surgery. They just do things different now, completely. So I'm sure he's got the best of care. But damn.
I do want to ask you, I don't know. I'm not a wrestler. I have no experience here. I don't want to pretend like I'm an expert, but I have heard wrestlers who say that, like, I remember hearing Ric Flair say this a long time ago, that when you work every day, your body almost gets calloused to the ring, to the ropes, to the road. And if you're taking time off and there's a lot of gap and time in between, then maybe over time your body doesn't take too kindly to this sort of activity. And I'm seeing a lot of people online, and some of them are former wrestlers, and some of them are just, talking head pundits online, who think that a lot of the injuries that are happening now may actually come from inactivity because there are less reps. You've lived it. What's real and what's make believe? Does your body get calloused? Is it easier to take bumps if you're in the groove of doing it, 4 or 5 days a week?
I think without question in my mind, there's a happy medium. Your timing is something, in your cadence and your opponents and the thought process. And again, it's very, very physical what we do. Even the littlest things like hitting the rope, taking flat back bumps. It is just a very unique form of physical activity, if that's the way to do it. And I don't want to say we can get into artwork, and obviously it's not real sport, but let's just call it physical activity. It is just very, very unique. And just the simple fact, hey, I'm gonna take you by the hair and I'm gonna run you from one side of the ring and throw you out. Well, we all know you're not really throwing a guy out of the ring. The guy is taking his own self from one side of the ring to the other and jumping over the top rope, and you're going, just however you slice and dice it, it's just wear and tear on the body. And so the timing, and like you said, I think the cadence and the I don't know if callous is the right word, but I just think there's a real happy medium there. And I don't think you could come up with an exact amount of dates, and because then you're going to get into financial and what's best for this, what's best for that. But I do think that what we do needs to be done. And I don't know that magic number. Is it twice a week? Is it 3 times a week? Or is it 4 times a week and then take a week off? I don't know exactly. I think everybody would be a little different, but I don't think the once a week thing is optimal. I don't, because I think so many other variables come in. And then when you're talking about a TV match versus a live event match versus a pay-per-view mentality match, is there a gray area? I know I don't want to talk, my day, this, that, you had A match, B match, C match, or whatever it may be. Conrad, I don't think there's an exact answer, but I do think there is a lot of validity to reps are everything, and cadence and staying in shape. And I'm saying ring shape, not elliptical shape or Stairmaster shape. I'm talking about ring shape. There's, and unless you do it and really have done it for a while and really understand, it's so hard. Like, for me to explain this to, I don't know, even an athletic trainer, it's hard to put into words. Like, sit down with what's the finance guy, Shapiro, Ari and Shapiro. Hey,
Mhm.
hey guys, I know it's not good for your bottom line, but I think we're going to be doing our roster a long-term benefit. We need to kind of create scenarios to whatever it may be. I don't know, Conrad. I don't know. And I'll say this, I'll just go to the power plant, or I just use power plant, go to NXT, go to a wrestling school, blah, 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 do all this. It's not the same. The adrenaline is not the same when a guy who's been doing it 5, 10, 15 years, when you get in the ring and work out versus a live audience. Good, Conrad, good thought-provoking conversations today.
Cody Rhodes recently had a pitch for house shows, and he actually talked about this on his podcast. He said, I'd suggested to some of the top brass in the company for a myriad of reasons: camaraderie, the reps, the general sense of working here. It's hard to think you work somewhere if you're only there a couple days a week, right? Versus the schedule for when we first started, where it was full tours, live events, and then you come on to TV, and then you're home less time. 2 days, right? And sometimes a day and a half, right? Half the travel day, but I still suggested it to them. I said, run one weekend a month, call them house shows, make them almost poke the fourth wall a little bit in terms of what they are. They're canon, but they're not. You're going to see some of the stuff you see on TV, but it's going to be a bit more of a mixed bag. And maybe you're going to see some people you've never seen before who are getting their first rep in front of you, and run them that way where there's an intimacy to them that's advertised. This is a house show. That's what you guys are getting, and it's going to be awesome. They're so fun, so fun. I, for one, totally agree with Cody here. You know, we've talked about it here on the show before. I know AEW experimented with house shows once upon a time. I feel like when I go to a major show that's a television taping or it's being broadcast or streamed live, I feel like that show is not for me if I bought a ticket. That show is for the television audience at home. And I feel that way even when I go to football games. If you've sat in the stands and you know you're in what they call a TV timeout, it feels like you're just waiting for something to happen. And it's because, hey, thanks for coming down and buying tickets and paying your seat license and paying for parking and standing in line to pee and paying $20 for a beer. But our real customer is at home. So you just sit your ass right there, go buy another beer or stand in line to pee, and we're going to sell some dick pills or whatever we're going to do in the commercials. That's kind of what it feels like. But when I go to a house show, well, now that feels different to me because they're playing to me. Like I remember seeing a house show in Huntsville years ago, and the Usos with a referee broke out into a dance contest. And I know some people would say, oh, that's not what wrestling's supposed to be. Don't tell that to all the kids who are big Uso fans that night. You know, there was some sort of viral trend that was going around on social at the time, and the guys broke down into it, and everyone had a blast. Fun is the word I would use to describe it. Now, I get some of you really just want to get lost in the story and you want to advance the storyline. I think you're a television viewer. I think if you just want to see what wrestling could be and what wrestling used to be, house shows are it. I, for one, am all for Cody's idea of being selective and doing one weekend a month. I know if TKO is involved, that means they're only going to hit the quote unquote A towns. But I think there's something to what Cody's suggesting that could serve the industry, serve the fan base, and serve TKO in the long haul. What say you, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, you've, and I think, man, you've talked about this, but at the end of the day, and I've had this conversation, I feel like, God, a lot the last, maybe it goes back a year, but certainly last 6 or 9 months in, hey, Jeff, what do you think about, man, the business that really, there's no house shows. And I immediately say, what an opportunity, my God, what an opportunity. Because there are wrestling fans all over the world that want to come see it live. It is a completely, and when I can remember, whether it's me and Don West conversations, and Don was new in the early days. He wasn't a wrestling guy growing up and all this, but when he saw it, he had watched it on TV, the Attitude Era. That was really when he was in his heyday, but he's just like, damn, live. And he's sitting there at ringside at the Asylum, and it was just so infectious. I think that nurtured him along. Or you sit across the table at a sponsorship discussion, and if they're new to the game and you're having these conversations, and Conrad, I don't know how many times I've done this, I would read the room and read the certain, I'll call them decision maker, and I would say, hey, when's the last time you've been? And whatever answer it was, you need to come to a show. You get them to the show, then there's a completely new appreciation because it is so interactive. And I'm like you, an NFL game or an NBA game or even the hockey games. And the Preds here locally do a great job in TV timeouts. But it is a real sense of we're secondary. We are playing the role of the six man or 12th man, using the C. Alex deal. You're a part of the audience, which is the TV audience, if you will. There's a real disconnect. I just think that the opportunity, and I think you hit on something that I wanted to almost double down on. If you're a promoter out there, that I think there's a real strategy here, because TKO is probably going to go to the A markets if they were to ever do this, and maybe a B market, which means the C and D markets, Waco, Wichita, Jonesboro, Huntsville, Dothan, Gainesville. We could go from coast to coast. The opportunities to produce live wrestling in these towns, and I'm not saying just quote unquote the local bingo hall or the armory. I think if you put on the right show with the right promotion, obviously with the right talent, you can put butts in seats, because I just think the art form, if you will, is so much more mainstream now. You just got to put your ducks in a row and get out there and promote. They'll come out. I truly believe that.
Before you go to a wrestling show, let me give you one pro tip. Check out Mando. Mando is a real game changer. It's a staple in the Jarrett household and in mine. I know you're going to absolutely love it. And listen, let me tell you, it's more than just when you're going to a wrestling show. It's almost like you were prepping for your first date. Remember when you were trying to get ready for any first date? You think about things like, should I get a new haircut? Hey, if she's going to get in my car, maybe I need to go ahead and get my car detailed ahead of time. Where are we going to dinner? And I feel like we shouldn't go to a movie. We need to talk somewhere. There's a lot of thought that goes into that. Well, you're trying to figure out how to put your best foot forward. The real way to do that, deodorant. It's a non-negotiable. Mando whole body deodorant is safe to use everywhere on your body. Your pits, your balls, your thigh folds, your belly buttons, your butt cracks, your feet. Mando was created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. It's been clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. Mando's solid stick deodorant is formulated and powered by mandelic acid to stop odor before it even starts. You've also got the spray deodorant. That's aluminum free and ideal for those hard to reach places. It's also baking soda free and paraben free. You can now choose from a variety of fresh scents like bourbon leather, clover woods, Mount Fuji, and Pro Sport. Mando has been clinically proven to control odor better than just a shower with soap alone. And by the way, it's available in retailers across the country. You see, some men actually mask their BO with scents, but buddy, the Mando men, we get the job done right. So don't mask it, Mando it. It's available now in those retailers near you, or head on over to shopmando.com, because right now, for a limited time, new customers can get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code. Just go to shopmando.com and use our code MyWorld. That's shopmando.com for 20% off site-wide plus free shipping. That's shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Mando's got you covered with deodorant plus sweat control. Say goodbye to sweat stains and say hello to long-lasting freshness. And Jeff, this weekend is Grand Slam. Let's preview some of the matches that we've got coming up this weekend. Man, it's a who's who this weekend for AEW. It is in Australia, and we know this is going to be a homecoming event for the lovely Harley Cameron in the top right-hand corner. I know this is going to be fun for her. Can't imagine. But it's the Babes of Wrath versus Mega Bad. What a great title that is for the AEW Women's World Tag Team Championship. Easily the match I'm looking forward to for a variety of reasons. Lord, what a great name Mega Bad is. And how can you not pull for the Babes of Wrath? This is going to be a lot of fun. You've also got Jon Moxley taking on Takeshita. This is for the AEW Continental Championship. Moxley, of course, is your Continental Champion. This is a main event anywhere in the country. A lot of people think that Jon Moxley has been the ace or the MVP of AEW. I think that's kind of hard to argue. But Takeshita, and he's done it all, including being the New Japan champion. Can't wait to see that one. What about Hangman Adam Page? He's going to be hooking it up against Andrade, who feels like he's on a tear right now. They will determine the number one contender for the men's world championship. The winner is going to get a title shot at Revolution. That's coming up on March 15th. But Hangman versus Andrade, sign me up. It feels like everything Andrade has touched since he's been back in AEW has been fantastic. I mean, his matches with Swerve and Kenny Omega, sign me up for this one. How about Orange Cassidy and Timeless Tony Storm teaming up to take on Wheeler Yuta and Marina Shafir? It's a mixed tag hair match. That feels like a little Memphis right there. And then in our main event, the world title is on the line. Brody King versus MJF. If you were watching last week, you saw Brody King lay the wood to MJF, and now he's getting it in an official title shot. It all happens this weekend in Australia, February 14th. Tickets are on sale now. Get your tickets at AEWTIX.com. And as we mentioned, there is a house show the very next night in Brisbane. I spent a lot of time talking about house shows today. So, hey, if you're down under, go check it out. What a card this is this weekend. It feels like a pay-per-view, Jeff, but it's just free on TV.
Buddy, I was at the gym this morning. I was working out. My trainer goes, hey, look over there on one of the TVs. TNT's putting some juice behind it. I see the off-air, off-network, because the television wasn't on TNT. It was on ESPN, but they're running ads in it. So it's going to be a blowout down under. I've always loved my folks down under, been down there many, many times. It is a great country. Wrestling, rabid fans. I heard you mention it, Harley and Tony, and a little bit of a homecoming, and Kyle. So I think it's very special for them. But the card is stacked. It's going to be one for the ages. It's good.
I'm going to challenge you. If you're not normally an AEW consumer, maybe you just don't have the time or the schedule to regularly watch, and maybe you've got plans on Valentine's Day. All of these are legitimate excuses. I understand. I want you to go out of your way to DVR this one. It feels like to me, the AEW equivalent of a Clash of the Champions. And once upon a time, those Clash of the Champions were like, I don't know, can't miss viewing, appointment viewing for me as a wrestling fan. And if you're looking for that, I challenge you to watch this weekend from Australia. Grand Slam is going to be something else, Jeff. I feel strongly about this because we routinely talk about how well the AEW pay-per-views are received. I mean, it feels like everyone who buys it, it's like almost universally loved. And this is totally free. So if you've been on the fence and maybe you're not sure about, well, I don't love the TV, I'm not sure I want to invest in a pay-per-view. If that's been you, watch this TV this Saturday night. I'm telling you, AEW delivers on pay-per-view, and this feels like that to me, Jeff.
I was going to say, quick story. I was at Vegas this week. Karen did a TikTok on this, but we did the VIP meet and greet. I wish the cameras would have been rolling afterwards, because there was a fan out there, and AEW in Vegas have a long history. And so we got to chatting, and look, they love all the big events, but you could tell they are, I don't want to say they're an educated fan, because that sounds like there's uneducated fan, but no, they are a well-spoken, this guy really, he was a very interesting cat, because he, WWE, TNA, TNA's got a little history in Vegas, obviously WWE and Mania, and just, anyway, he has seen so many different events. And I said, well, let me ask you, look, and he goes to everything. I said, why do you, tell me, like, why are you here tonight? You've kind of touched on, he ribbed me. Yeah, Jeff, you talk about AEW does pay-per-view better than anybody, but nobody does pay-per-view. I mean, we were having a good back and forth. And I said, then tell me about it. And he goes, when there are a focused big event mindset, AEW delivers. And he goes, Jeff, they're 6 and 7 years into this, and every big event. So I was like, man, I appreciate you saying that. I think Tony would appreciate you saying that, because, online for both companies or all companies, you got to take the good with the bad. But this guy, I wish I had the camera rolling, because he sincerely meant, that's why I'm here tonight. I want to support a brand that when their big shows come around, they always over deliver. It's cool.
Speaking of big shows, Jeff, since we've been recording this morning, there has been major breaking news, and I don't think AEW has announced it, but Andrew Zarian has announced that AEW is going to bring one of its landmark pay-per-view events to New York City this spring. Double or Nothing is on the books and scheduled for Louis Armstrong Stadium in Queens, New York, New York City. The capacity there is like 14,000. This is a tennis stadium, and they used to play there's been a lot of famous tennis matches that have happened here. And this, what a cool looking stadium. What a cool looking venue. If you're curious, this is in Flushing, Queens, New York City. But the idea that they're running here, I think, is pretty awesome. Of course, we know for years and years, historically, New York City was considered, even in the territory days, when they said New York, they meant WWE. I think it's interesting that while WrestleMania is going to be on the West Coast side of things with Las Vegas, AEW the very next month does not go to Las Vegas. They're taking Double or Nothing to Queens, New York. This seems like a fun idea, man. I can't wait to see this.
All right, Conrad. So I'm going to say there's a caveat. I don't think he would report this unless it was fact, right? Because if AEW hasn't put it out. So I do want to be kind of careful there. But I'm telling you, Conrad, when I walked into that, I'll tell you, our old friend Raphael, and he would tell me about it. But, man, look, you don't even have to be a tennis fan. I know if you've watched an important tennis match over the last 30 or 40 years in the United States, you're going to see some kind of footage. That building. And I was obviously, me and Hangman had that strap match there, Conrad.
Well, now you were at Arthur Ashe Stadium.
Oh God.
So you were at Arthur Ashe. This is on the same grounds, but it is a tennis. It's the similar area, same grounds, but I think Arthur Ashe is a bigger venue. This is a little smaller, but still the same concept.
Wait, you said 14,000. Do they have two?
Yeah. Arthur Ashe, I think, holds like 20 something.
Okay. Still. A tennis stadium.
It's cool.
It is. I'm telling you, because I was up top. I worked, but also was at a different show. But anyways, up top with some TNT sponsorship folks, and they were talking about, Jeff, what do you think about this? I said, look how far away we are sitting from the match, but you feel like you're on top of it because it goes straight up. I can't say enough good thing about that facility. Wow. So that's a different stadium. Louis Armstrong.
I think Arthur Ashe is like 23,000 and change, and I think Louis Armstrong is 14,000 or change. Okay. And if I'm honest with you, I actually like the smaller, more intimate. I know that's the old school TNA and ECW fan in me, and I know that guys like JR and Steve Austin, they've often said when you've got open air, hey, the sound can kind of go up and it disappears a little bit, but the intimacy is what I loved when like ECW would run the Elks Lodge or some of the cool venues that. Like, what's the name of the venue in downtown Nashville that AEW ran in November right before Thanksgiving? What was the name of that one?
Pinnacle.
Pinnacle was fantastic. I got to see an ECW show once at the Tabernacle in Atlanta. I loved it.
Yeah, and look, the Asylum. We referenced.
Yes.
But where was I going with the? Oh gosh, we just had it. The Pump. That people are on top of people in that building. So I get it. I should have called old Louis Armstrong. Arthur Ashe and Louis Armstrong. The naming of that, Conrad, think of they got really off track. They went from a tennis great to a musician, but Louis.
Good stuff, man. I'm excited to see it. Double or Nothing. We're going to have more news coming. Hey, I want to mention something else. We talked a little bit about injuries earlier with Bronn Breakker. I guess it was a foregone conclusion, but we all were optimistic and hopeful and had our fingers crossed, but it feels like Big E helped rip the Band-Aid off last week. He says, I entered the pro wrestling industry at the age 23 with an injury history that included a torn left ACL, a torn right ACL, a torn left pec, and a broken right patella. At 39, I'm well aware that I will one day have to pay the piper. I've put my body through a lot, and somehow I feel great. I don't battle daily pain. I'm able to function normally and healthfully. I'm eternally grateful for the wonderful career I stumbled into. I pray for all of my fellow athletes and performers who have not had the same good fortune. A sincere thank you to everyone who has taken the time to follow my in-ring career. It was an immeasurable gift to get to perform for all of you. Was being the operative word. This feels like obviously he's still employed by WWE and done a fabulous job on the kickoff and countdown shows as a talking head and analyst. I don't think he could find anyone better. He's doing fantastic at that. But he quietly had an incredible career, Jeff. Intercontinental title, the U.S. title, so many tag titles and records, even WWE champion. He did it all. But gosh, I just don't want to see him retire just yet. What do you make of the news that Big E is hanging him up?
Okay, well, so there may be something that he shouldn't or doesn't want to or hasn't discussed with his neck injury. But look, man, you just said it. And when you look at that list before he got into the business, both knees, pec, shoulder, patella. Damn. That is a list before 23, Conrad. That was when I read that the other day, I went, holy crap, this is before he started taking bumps. So the New Day, and look at Xavier, Consequences Creed. I've always, from afar, and then I got to work with those guys from a producer point of view, kind of the magic they put together. They were real life friends. They're charismatic. Their charisma oozed through. Their friendship showed. It clicked. It worked for a long, long time. And you have to kind of go, okay, in so many ways, Big E, and I know he's singles champion, and I'm not taking that away, but those three, 1 + 1 + 1 equal a lot more than 3. And hats off, because in a lot of ways they did it their way, and it looks like Big E is closing the in-ring career the way he wants to. So hats off to him, and congrats on what a fantastic, successful career.
No doubt. I hope that we get to chalk that one up to the never say never category. But I do want to ask, speaking of never say never, AJ Styles, I couldn't believe this. He did Stephanie McMahon's podcast. And I just assumed that after his match in Saudi, that was probably all we were going to see from AJ. I've still maintained hope that they're going to do some sort of AJ tribute or salute, because Monday Night Raw is going to be in Atlanta on February 23rd. But he was on Stephanie's podcast and he said, I don't know why I kept the gloves on. I don't know. Never say never, right? That's the saying. I think everybody's allowed at least once to come out of retirement. I'm not saying that I'll do it anytime soon. What if my son wrestles? The opportunity to tag with him once, you never know. So there will be a time when the gloves never go back on. It may be now, but we'll see. So that's what he said on Stephanie's podcast. I know there's a ton of interest in other promoters around the world who would love to have AJ, come work their territory. I think TNA fans would love to see him there. I know AEW fans and Tony Khan would love to see him in AEW. As a fan, I would love to see him, work a main event in Arena Mexico, or headline a Triple Mania, or, have a marquee matchup at Wrestle Kingdom. I don't want to say goodbye to AJ Styles, but I do love the idea that if he's outside the tent, he can maybe be a little more in control of what happens next. As you know, Jeff, on the independents, you get to say, hey, I'm available on that date. Here's who I'd like to work. Here's the creative. Here's how much time. Here's the flight I want. I want first class, and here's my fee. I mean, you're totally in control on the independents. Whereas if you're under contract to WWE, respectfully, you're dictated to a little bit. So I think he could still check both boxes. I want to spend more time with my family, but still want to have some fun. I would just like to be in control of with who and when. What do you think? Do you think we've seen the last of AJ Styles? Is this it?
I think I got picked up on what I said last week, that we hadn't seen the last. I'm trying to think, some website picked it up. We hadn't seen the last of AJ Styles. I just think, and I get it. The whole world doesn't need to know everybody's private, and not just personal situations, but their business. So the business of AJ Styles, or Alan Jones handling the career of AJ Styles, we don't need to know everything. It's not our business. But it felt, from a creative perspective, the abrupt boom, over, he's out in Saudi, just feels like there's a lot of doors left open. And I don't know if that's AJ's wishes or not his wishes, but I think that's the reality. So I'll say what I said last week. I don't think we've seen, and now I didn't know AJ said that on the pod, but I don't think we've seen the last of AJ. And it may be next week, next month, next year, a couple of years from now. But I do think, knowing AJ, as long as I've known him, he'll do something, and he'll truly end the career, his career, in-ring career, the exact way he wants to do it.
I think we all want that, and I think we're all hoping for that. Something that I'm hoping that we get to do your way is a cool rollout for a really cool collectible. I know you've been working on this for a while, and well, I think we've actually got a commercial for it. Let's take a look.
Here we go.
The official Last Outlaw Collector's Edition figure built with hyper-accurate 3D scan technology, premium construction, flawless paint. These are gone. They're gone for good. Exclusively at ProWrestlingMerch.com.
How about that? Step into the squared circle, ProWrestlingMerch.com. The Last Outlaw. It's a Double J limited edition 3D scan, meticulously crafted collectible. It's going to bring that iconic Double J directly into your home. Not just another figure, but it says here it's a revolutionary 3D scanned masterpiece. From the intricate details of his signature Last Outlaw street attire, to the authentic texture of his guitar, to the defiant expression in his face, this figure is a true-to-life representation of one of professional wrestling's most charismatic and controversial figures. Here's what's cool about this. It's perfect for display. Jeff, I think you've got one in person right there, and the box looks badass. But whether it's on your desk or it's on a shelf or it's the centerpiece of your Double J wrestling shrine, this figure is going to command some attention. I like that you can see the hat. I like that you've got the guitar. I mean, this is kind of a cool look. And what I like most of all is I think they're only making 100 of these, and they're all going to be signed and hand numbered by you. Do I have that right?
That's true. I mean, there's a company called Shrunk who approached me, Conrad, and I was just like, I don't know, but this is almost 2 years ago was my first conversations. And then about 3 or 4 months went by and they came back, and I'm just like, I don't know. And then me and you got into discussions about the 40 year is coming up and how do we do that? And I got all my stuff downstairs organized, and we're going to be, and I've already done a couple of things with AEW on Whatnot. And we've got some things, as you said, coming up through the rest of the year, but I wasn't real sure. So I went out to one of their studios, Conrad, and they just said, all right, just bring your Last Outlaw, because I wanted to do that. Like what figure has not been done. And I've had a bunch of different wrestling. So I thought, okay, let me do a Last Outlaw. So I brought my hat and guitar and got in the studio, Conrad, and they literally take, I'm going to get it wrong, but I want to say 350, 400 different images, little bitty cameras, they're everywhere and they're turned and you turn different ways and they have it. But anyway, the company does it. They do it all in, do the process, and it all came together. And I was like, all right, that's pretty cool. And so I said, look, let's make it limited. I'm not into mass retail. I've done different things in my career where whatever it may be, things sell that you don't think are going to sell, and then other things and vice versa. So I said, all right, let's make them really limited. The guys at Pro Wrestling Merch, they've got the stickers, so we're numbering them 1 through 100. I want to be real careful. There's really not 100 left because I've already got some spoken for, and I know Conrad, you and Silver are on that list. But so I'm gonna. There is only 100 made, but there's not 100 available. So anyhow, so when they came out, and I have it right here, Conrad, I never would have dreamed, never would I have said, you know what, the box may be the coolest thing of all, because they custom the box and did the box, and I don't know, Conrad, but we'll see, pal. I know you're a big fan of it, Conrad.
Dude, I love it. I think it's the coolest thing that we've ever done here on the podcast, besides Ric Flair's last match. I mean, it's right up there for me.
All kidding aside, the box, I'm going to sign it probably right there. I don't know, Conrad. Where should I sign it?
That's a good question. Yeah, I definitely think it should be on one of the 4 sides for sure.
Okay. Anyway.
Either way, though, the idea that they're going to be signed, Jeff, I'd like to go ahead and throw you a wrinkle. What if, when they order, if they can let us know they heard about it on the podcast, why don't you call them too? So not only could you get a really cool collectible that's limited to only 100, and it's autographed, and it's hand numbered to 100, but if they heard about it on the podcast, they'll even get a call from Double J.
Oh, you want me to get on there and talk Ring Classics, don't you?
Well, no, I mean, you don't have to if you don't want to.
Okay. Now, we can't talk forever, though, Conrad. A couple of minutes? No, I'm teasing. What do you get me into? I can tell by the look on your face right now.
I just feel like the people who are going to open up the wallet for a Double J collectible like this and an autograph, the only thing that makes it cooler than having something rare is having something that's an experience. And that's kind of what we've been doing, with Ring Classics is you can see cool stuff, but what is the fun experience? And I think a lot of people
here, Cardona, Brian Myers, they'd be so happy. They'd be so proud of us, wouldn't they? No,
I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, I think you got to go see this. And take a look how cool it looks.
You love the hat, don't you, Conrad? You love
the hat's badass. The guitar's badass.
How about that, Connie? You like
and I'm going to be honest with you. The likeness is something else, Jeff. I mean, when you sent it to me, I just thought to myself,
Did I put it back here, Conrad? Like to really get the likeness? Oh, you know what? This has been sitting here for a while. This was kind of the
prototype.
Prototype, yeah. This is a prototype. But now, look at that, Conrad.
So that one on the left, it's faded. That's the old GCW version.
It's the prototype. All right, Connie.
What do you think, Jeff?
Well, you like it here, or do you like it back here, Conrad?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I want you to just get an extreme close up, like we're on Wayne's World.
Okay. Here we go.
Not of the fucking box.
No, you don't like that?
No, I think it's great, but Jeff, I think we're burying the lead here. Let's just watch the commercial again, and then when we come out, I want you to just make a comparison. We'll see if Silva can do a side by side for us.
What is the lead here? Look,
the official Last Outlaw Collector's Edition figure built with hyper accurate 3D scan technology, premium construction, flawless paint. These are gone. They're gone for good. Exclusively at ProWrestlingMerch.com.
I got a whole folder.
I knew you had something up your sleeve. You said, "Oh yeah, folks, that's AI."
Look at it side by side. It's fucking identical, folks.
That is AI.
Which one's real, Jeff, and which one's the figure? I can't tell.
Okay, is this better right here? Wait, would you just stop and let? Okay.
I mean, I can't. I feel like I'm at the optometrist. Better one, better two. Better one, better two. Better one, better two. I want to make sure that whoever did the scan, oh my God, there he is, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the program. Here he is, the greatest professional wrestler of all time, your friend and mine, Double J, Jeff Jarrett. Jeff, how are you, man?
Conrad, I love in the chat, we got Coach Keith and we got Mustadon. And look, I'm just telling you, you've got me anyway. We're going to do phone calls. All kidding aside, the Last Outlaw, there's probably 80, 83, 84. I think we pulled 15 aside for we've promised them already. So folks, ProWrestlingMerch.com and Conrad and Silva's AI nonsense. I knew they were setting me up.
Hey, go right now to ProWrestlingMerch.com. This is going to be highly collectible. It's going to go up in value. There's only 100 being printed.
Yes.
Only like 80 something being released to the masses. They're all going to be hand signed and numbered. And if you let them know that you heard about it on the podcast, I'm going to twist old Double J's arm and have him give you a call and personally thank you. So not only will you get a cool collectible to display, it'll also be really rare. It'll also be autographed and hand signed and numbered. But most importantly, you get a Double J experience. Double J is going to give you a call. And I'm telling you, with this new opportunity, I mean, I think this is the beginning of something really big. Go get in right now at ProWrestlingMerch.com. That's ProWrestlingMerch.com. But Jeff, I feel like by September, man, me and you and the folks who made this scan, we could be running wild all over Spirit Halloween. Like, I want a Double J mask. Silva, can you make me Double J's mask for the rest of this show?
Here we go.
I think it would be. This is my dream come true. Howdy, folks. That's JEFF-JARRETT. I'm the world's greatest singer, the world's greatest performer, the world's greatest wrestler. Maybe not mastered all of my claymation skills yet. Oh, dude, listen, I'm telling you, left and right is ridiculous. Like the one on the left is fantastic. And then there's old me on the right. I got to get a mask like that, and I want it for Halloween. And after Megan goes to bed early one night, I'm just going to put it on and climb in bed, just see what happens.
Look at that bad boy. That prototype looks badass. Look at that.
Well, hey, keep him up there, and now put me back up as fake Double J on the right hand side. Now, see on the left right there, that's my buddy, and on the right there, that's what chases me in my dreams. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen, Jeff.
Oh, you're too much, pal.
Go get in on the fun right now. ProWrestlingMerch.com. There's only 100 of these. You can ask anybody who's been collecting collectibles. That means you're getting a good deal. It's going to go up in value, and you're going to get a call from Double J if you say that, hey, you heard from the podcast. I mean, Jeff hasn't agreed to that, but I'm just going to twist his arm.
No, the podcast. I get it. This is specifically for podcasts. So
that's right.
You're going to hear. I get it. All right. Yeah, and I do love our My World listeners. They the feedback, man, oh man, you guys have no idea how valuable it is. So I appreciate each and every listen, whether you're in the business where you take a paycheck out of it or where you're a fan. Our Ring Classics family, those guys are great, even Coach Rosie. But no, I do. I sincerely, I think back over the last 5 or something years, how we've ebbed and flowed on topics and this and that. It's special. And I appreciate everyone who listens.
Hey, speaking of listening and being wrestling fans, I had no idea that LeBron James was such a big wrestling fan. I don't know if you saw this. I know you're a basketball junkie, but
huge.
He was recently compared to, or he recently made the comparison, basically accepting the villain role that a lot of people have made him in the online discourse. He said, I grew up watching Hulk Hogan. At one point, Hulk Hogan was like America's, like everyone loved him. What it means to be an American. Then one day he went to NWO. People couldn't understand how he tagged up with the enemy. They was like, what is going on? Everybody just booed him. He went from wearing red and yellow to black and white. We're entertainers as well. Listen, we want to go out and have fun, smile and be happy because that's what brings us joy. But we can tap into the Joker role if y'all make us now. We can get there too, still be able to perform at a high level. But the idea that LeBron James is basically saying, I'm Hollywood Hogan. I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't that. What'd you make of this?
Conrad, like on something like this, like my grandmother, Miss Christine Teeny, or old Jerry Jarrett, he knew who LeBron was. But when you think over let's go back 3 generations, but I think LeBron is arguably one of the most top 10 famous athletes of all time. He's, I don't want to get into it. Oh no, he's fine. Everybody gets into that. But when you kind of see the evolution of professional wrestling, and we talk about it, everything is professional wrestling. And I had a conversation with a guy at Cracker Barrel, Conrad, as we were waiting to check out, and there was a line, and then there was an issue, and then we just kept talking, walked outside, and we got outside, and he was talking all things, but Conrad, he made the point, which I chuckled at, that, he said something about Trump, and then he said something about Democrats. We got into this rabbit hole in a lighthearted way, and I was like, yeah, everything's professional wrestling. He said, yeah, it's all you damn wrestling promoters' fault because everything is so vicious now. Everybody cuts promos on each other, but do they really mean it? And I'm like, that's interesting that everything is wrestling because we joked about it. Super Bowl champ. All right, you see the belts out. I mean, it is kind of funny how everything turns into a wrestling promo or a belt. I don't know, Conrad, but LeBron saying that, I knew he came to several Raws, I believe, back in the day when he was really young. And I know, he's been around.
Well, something else that's been around is his commitment to looking and feeling good. It feels like you're doing the same thing. I know a lot of our listeners are, and I want to brag on Factor. A lot of us have new goals in the new year, and maybe we don't have time to cook. Well, I want you to know that Factor makes it easy with fully prepared meals designed by dietitians and crafted by chefs, so you can eat well without the shopping or the cooking. What do you need to know about Factor? Well, it's quality, functional ingredients. They include lean proteins and colorful veggies and whole food ingredients and healthy fats. There's no refined sugars. There's no artificial sweeteners. There's no refined seed oils. And these are meals that fit your goals and your schedule. Healthier eating, calorie management, more protein. They've got over 100 rotating weekly meals, and the options include things like high protein, calorie smart, Mediterranean diet, GLP-1 support, and ready to eat salads. They've even got a new Muscle Pro collection that supports strength and recovery. What you need to know most, though, about Factor, and the reason Jeff loves it so much, it's always fresh, it's never frozen, it's ready in about 2 minutes, and there's no prep and no stress. Head on over to factormeals.com/myworld50off and use the code myworld50off to get 50% off your first Factor box plus free breakfast for a year. The offer, of course, is only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. Make healthier eating easy with Factor. Make healthier eating easy with Factor. Go right now to factormeals.com/myworld50off. It's good stuff. You love Factor.
I would, if I was channeling my inner Don West, I would stand up on this desk and chant Factor meals. Because if there's one thing over the last couple of years, it just, there's a couple of different avenues of my health, but eating is obviously very, very important. And if there's one thing that's contributed to my growth, if you will, or staying in fit, it's Factor. Because you said it all, 2 minutes, you have a nutritious meal. It tastes good over and over and over. You don't feel like you're drinking chalk and it keeps you from, it keeps you from snacking and all that kind of stuff. But it is a quick, literally, you can have it heated and eaten in 15 minutes and you're done. You can't do that with anywhere else. It is truly a game changer if you wanting to eat healthy.
Check it out. Factor is the real deal. Hey, let's talk about some other news and notes that are going around this week. I don't know if you saw, but it looks like Sting's son has been working out with AEW. I guess he's been doing some dark matches and whatnot. And I know that this has been maybe the worst kept secret in wrestling for a bit, but Tony Khan was finally asked about it. And he said that this is a huge priority. Quote, Steven has never been on AEW TV, but he's somebody we're developing. I have so much respect for Steven. He's a rising young wrestler. He played college football at Kentucky. I followed his football career, and now I'm proud to say we're working on developing him as a pro wrestler for AEW. Developing him for the future is a huge priority for me and everyone in AEW. I don't know, man. I kind of get excited about this, especially when I hear things like in that same interview. I think Tony revealed that he actually licensed the old Sting theme song from WCW way back in the day. I think it's called Turbocharged. I'll play just a bit of that here so you can hear it. The idea that Tony licensed that in theory and is holding it for Sting's son, man, just hits me in the nostalgia feels. I love it. What do you think?
I mean, and look, I've always, because of my experience, a second or third generation guy, I know the good and the bad that come with it and the amount of pressure. And, I can remember when those kids were in high school and then they went to college and playing football and, time has gone on and then, Sting's last match. And now we're seeing it a year and a half, 2 years later. I'll call it Steven's been bitten by the bug, but man, it is, the weight of the world is on that kid's shoulders, but man, he's doing it. I mean, reps. And I've said that over and over and over. I just got sent, guy wants to do an interview with me and he wanted to, pre-screen questions and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Anyway, he sent me, and one of the second question was giving young guys advice. And I just say, nothing replaces reps. So I hope he gets as much work as possible. But when I heard that whole song and him licensing in it, I just go, and look, it's 30 years ago. So it's, most folks around have no clue, but that is a great theme for wrestling. And it just, what you said, it brings the feels at it. If you were a fan during that time, you immediately go, that's Stinger. It's very cool.
Can't wait to see it, and want to give some love to Moostadon, who is a part of our live studio audience here today from ringclassics.com. And he says, just ordered my Double J figure. So how about that? He's already gone to prowrestlingmerch.com, and we got our first one on the way. So
right on.
How about that? That's pretty cool.
Cool. Thank you, sir.
Hey, I wanted to ask you about a big record that happened. It was an anniversary of a record that happened last week. I don't think I've ever talked about this, but as a young fan, I got to say, I think the greatest storyline that WWE ever did was the evil twin referee gimmick. It happened on the main event, not Saturday night's main event, but in prime time on NBC. And it went down on February 5th, 1988. And I guess immediately afterwards, there was some newspaper somewhere that suggested there were 33 million people that watched. Brandon Thurston and others have said, well, that wasn't technically true. It was 26.6 million. Either way, that's worth repeating. 26.6 million people watched Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant. Now, this is, of course, the era where Dave Hebner had been in the company for a long time. Earl had been working for the Crockett's. Earl comes and jumps ship. And now I guess the $1 Million Man paid off Earl, and they do the twin referee, of course. The count happens. They award the championship to Andre the Giant. Andre the Giant then gifts it to the $1 Million Man. And Hulk Hogan is highly pissed backstage, asking, how much did the plastic surgery cost, man? It was fantastic stuff. One of the best storylines. And I know it's a little campy and it's a little cheesy, and I get that.
It's on February what?
February 5th, 1988. It was a Friday night main event, and it was unbelievable. But I wanted to ask you, like, I know you're breaking into the business at this point. You've been working for a couple of years at that point, or almost 2 years. This was not territory stuff. This was NBC in prime time. Were you tuned into this? Did this feel like a big deal from the inside of the business at the time? Or do you only find out about what a huge success it was after the fact? What can you tell me about that from an adult perspective? Because I only experienced it as a kid.
So I was 22 months into my career. That's why I just Googled to make sure, because if it's been a Saturday night, so it was a Friday night. Here's how vividly I remember that, Conrad. So I'm almost 2 years into the business, grew up in the business, but all this going on, we had a Arkansas spot show that Randy Hales would have either been the ring announcer, or he would help with the box office, or just kind of, help things backstage, whatever it may be. But I don't think I was riding with him because I came from Nashville, but however it may be, we ended up going back to his house before I checked into a hotel. Why, Conrad? Because he recorded it that day on a VCR, and we watched it. And I couldn't remember going, when it went down, because I was not tuned into Earl. That it was just a very, obviously no social media, just a different era. It was very well executed, and how they did it, and you just go, son of a bitch. It was just well done. It was very, very good. But I watched it as a fan, and I'm 2 years into the business. I think that's part of what makes me still crazy to this day. I love it. I love when you can get sucked into the story. I'm not embarrassed or humiliated or look, that's what this whole business is about. You want to get sucked in. It is the true joy and entertainment part of it. And I think some people, they just lose sight of that today in so many ways. It's like, man, let yourself go and get wrapped up in it. But Conrad, I love the angle. And then me getting the opportunity to work with Dave and Earl, several years later, is always cool. I asked Earl in detail, kind of because he was working with the Crockett's and they wanted him to jump. And, in those days, 88, a referee jump from WCW or NWA to WWF. So pretty cool.
Super cool. And I know that, by modern standards, people would say, oh, that's cheesy. And I get back then it probably had its same critics because it wasn't, down and dirty, old school professional wrestling, but it was perhaps the very peak, at least in my estimation, of sports entertainment. It felt like a movie. It felt like if you were watching movies at the time, and again, remember now, we're talking 1988 context. You go back and you look at movies from that area, whether it's stuff like Die Hard or 48 Hours or Beverly Hills Cop or any of that sort of stuff. There's always these over the top villains, and the $1 Million Man sort of was that right out of central casting for that. And then he's always the bad guy, the ultimate villain. He's always got a big heater, a big henchman, a big boss that you've got to get through before you get to the real big guy. And that's Andre the Giant. And the idea that How much was the plastic surgery, dude? You know, this is 7 years, I think, before John Travolta did that Face Off movie. I just think this is really, really fun stuff and maybe peak WWE creative. But the idea that the business was so hot at the time, and again, as you said, there was no social media, there were no streaming platforms. Not even everybody had cable back then, but everybody with rabbit ears had NBC. 27 million people, Jeff. It's crazy.
That's Super Bowl. That's
Yeah.
the context to really put it in. I wonder what the Super Bowl did that year in 88. But that is where, like, the fandom of professional wrestling, that, oh man, it's the territory days, but then Vince McMahon says they're not going to pay taxes. It's not this, it's all scripted. Oh yeah. Can you believe they've admitted it's scripted? Like, the whole world knew that beforehand. They were dialed in if you're a wrestling fan, but to kind of see this execution, and being someone that I'd watched so much wrestling, and you can have, you know, the Assassin 1 and the Assassin 2, or any kind of tag team that looks similar, that would wear the same, the same outfit, same mask, that at the end of a 1, 2, 3, they do the switcheroo and get the pin, or just kind of deceitful and all this kind of stuff. But this angle on this scale had never really, it had never been done. And again, the execution, and then the storytelling by the announcers and the facials. And yes, it was all done over the top, and it doesn't fit in 2026. But in 1988, the buttons it pushed, obviously the build to it before they did this angle was, I mean, my God, 27, 28 million people. It's fun, but those are the real, you talk about pioneering days, and yes, the territories, you know, paved a lot of roads, but as you move from the territory into, we'll call it the golden age of syndication, because this was, you can't say it was the golden age of cable television. I think that came in the late 90s. This is kind of the golden age of syndication, that in every market, you know, in the Nashville market, sometimes, this is obviously before Raw, you had Superstars and Challenge that would air in your local market, and sometimes a different show, whatever it may be. But I'll call it the golden age of syndication television. And they promoted, obviously, for weeks, tune into NBC, and then it delivered 28 million viewers. Damn, Conrad. Unreal.
By the way, you compared it to the Super Bowl. I want to give you some context. The Super Bowl was the prior Sunday. So the Super Bowl was January 31st, 1988. That was Washington Redskins and the Denver Broncos. And boy, was it lopsided. The Broncos only put up 10. The Redskins scored 42. That was in San Diego. There were 73,000 fans there, and the game actually aired on ABC. Now, the Pro Football Hall of Fame still lists this game as having 115 million viewers. Nielsen data would support 80 million, but still 80 million people watched the Super Bowl. And yes, that means it beat the shit out of Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant, but keep that in mind. Percentage-wise, you're talking 27 million to 80 million, so more than a third of the audience. And by comparison, if you're curious, how many people watched last year's Super Bowl? Now, Jeff and I are recording on Monday morning, so we don't know what last night's Super Bowl was. But last year, there were 127 million viewers. So to think, hey, a little more than a third, that would mean the pro wrestling equivalent would be, we would need to draw 40 million people.
Damn.
Which, respectfully, we're not anywhere close to that. But the Nielsen rating for the Super Bowl back then, Jeff, this is the crazy stuff. 41.9. Can you imagine getting a 41 rating?
Yeah. Different era. Just a different era.
Different era, to say the least. Well, hey, listen, you know what? So has your story been. It feels like it's from a different era. You are a third-generation promoter, a lifelong resident of Hendersonville. Your dad set up roots there, and you just followed, you know, in his footsteps into the pro wrestling business, much like he followed your grandmother's footsteps into the pro wrestling business. And you did something pretty spectacular this past October. You've wrestled in your hometown for the very first time. And that almost seemed make-believe to me. Like, how's that possible as you're rounding the bases here in year 40 of your illustrious pro wrestling career? I feel like you're like that Johnny Cash song. I've been everywhere, man. But you've never been to Hendersonville. Certainly lived there, but never wrestled there. And when you finally were talked into it, thanks to the fabulous folks behind Pigfest, shout out to Andy Gillies, you were talked into, hey, why don't you wrestle in your hometown? And we did it. Jeff Jarrett's All-Star Super Slam went down this past October, and I was like a thorn in your side for the weeks leading up to it. Jeff, you're recording this, aren't you? Jeff, you're filming this, aren't you? Like one day your family and your hardcore friends, they're gonna want to know why this wasn't documented. It just felt unfathomable. Folks, imagine, for instance, if Rick had never wrestled in Minnesota, if Rick never wrestled in Flair country. I mean, it just feels like, no, of course you've done that. But it finally happened, and I eventually got Jeff to acquiesce, and he hired a camera crew, and he put together a little bit of a documentary. And I'm excited right now to let you guys see the trailer for the very first time anywhere. This is a My World exclusive. As a heads up, this is going to be airing in the Nashville market on television. And of course, you're also going to get a chance to see it anywhere, thanks to our YouTube platform here and all of our social media. But I can't wait for you to get this sneak peek, this preview. We're about a month away from the airing. Let's take a look at this trailer, Jeff. I'm fired up.
They say you can't ever go back home. But if you're from a place like Hendersonville, you really never leave. I've wrestled under bright lights in big arenas all over the world. But this is where it all started. Tennessee is where my grandmother first started. My dad built Memphis, Nashville, Louisville, and Evansville. You know, wrestling isn't just what the Jarretts do. It's who we are. Because people around here, they still believe in hard work and handshakes and second chances. They show up, cheer loud, and really let you know why this business matters. Yeah, so tonight, it's special. Not because it's one more match, it's because it's home. You know, if I've learned anything, then no matter how far you travel, how many miles you ride, how many arenas you step into, home is where the heart is.
I still get goosebumps watching it. Can't wait for you guys to see it. I want to give a shout out if you'd like to be a part of the program, if you'd like to sponsor this before it airs online and before it airs in that Nashville market. There's still opportunities available. Just drop a line to dave@podcastheat.com. So if you're looking to get the word out about your product or service, want to get in business with Double J, the Last Outlaw, that's easy to do. You can sponsor this by going to the email, dave@podcastheat.com. I'm excited for people to see this, man. I got to see a sneak peek last week in Atlanta, and I think everybody was universally happy with what you put together. I mean, it's more than a story of just professional wrestling. It's a story of family. We get to see your real life and meet you and Cody and the Queen and see a side of you that you don't very often offer up publicly. People in your community know that, Jeff, but a lot of us who've only seen you on television, we just know the Double J character or persona. So to see that curtain pulled back was really, really cool. And I appreciate you sharing that with all of us.
It was special, man. I'll get emotional. You know, it's cool. It just turned out so, yeah, I'll say it, emotional, but really cool. It was special. Yeah, I mean, I'm so glad now that I did capture it because that was not in my mindset. I just wasn't going to do it for the obvious reasons. It wasn't important to me at the time. I wanted to go out and put on a great show. documenting the show was in my, not on my to-do list, but I'm so glad we did. And it put it together. Family was there. Jay Lethal that day, he there's so many people in it that is really cool. My daughters and Jay and Conrad makes a cameo, and there's a couple others, but it documents literally the day from the time I got off the plane from San Antonio that morning until I got in the car to go home that night. So it's cool. And yep, it's going to be, we'll give out all the dates and that kind of stuff. But yes, people have reached out, the Pigfest folks. So I appreciate you saying that. And, the advertising of it, I think is pretty cool because it all just kind of came together and you said, hey man, let's air the trailer. And if people want to be a part of it, let's give them the opportunity. So My World listeners, if you want to be a part of it, let Dave know.
Dave at podcastheat.com, fire off an email and let them know you'd like to be involved in the Double J documentary. And as a reminder, these sort of things have a much longer tail. We appreciate all of our podcast sponsors and always will. But this is something that's going to live on and tell the story of Double J, even when he's not here. Yes, it airs in the Nashville market on TV, and we'll have those details for you when you reach out. But the idea that this is going to be online and fans will want to know the type of man that Jeff was or is, as long as he's with us, hopefully for another 50 years. I just think it's really cool that for historical purposes, when people want to know who the man behind the character was, there's now a record of that. And I'm going to be advertising on this. I hope you guys will consider it as well, because this is going to be something that wrestling fans really enjoy and celebrate for a long, long time. So if you'd like to be involved, just drop an email to Dave at podcastheat.com. Jeff, you got a lot of cool stuff going on right now, man. You were just on the front page of the Tennessean. You wrestled in your hometown. You got this documentary coming up. We got the Asylum coming up at the end of May. You got this new action figure at ProWrestlingMerch.com. It feels like you got just a ton of momentum. I mean, are you jumping on a plane and you're just going to go snatch the belt off of MJF this Saturday in Australia, or what's the plan?
No, we do. No. Exciting. It is. I don't roll out of bed. I get pulled out of bed. I'm excited. I really, really am. This 40th year, there's some cool, and we touched on at the beginning, but enjoyed the pod today, pal. We covered a lot of good stuff. So that conversation we had last week, attractions versus opponents, and what we hit on today, we really got in the nitty gritty on house shows. So my world continues to transform, and I appreciate it.
We're having a lot of fun. Looking forward to some new wrinkles in my world. We're going to be shooting some stuff in person, and you're going to get an even deeper look into the guy behind the character Double J in the coming weeks. Hit the subscribe button, tell a friend, and we'll see you next week right here on My World.
Peace.